The sky turned dark at noon. Not from clouds, but from ships. Thousands of them. They blocked the sun over every major city on Earth. People stopped in the streets and looked up. Children pointed. Old men prayed. The world held its breath. It was the year 2347. And humanity was not alone anymore. The ships were massive. Each one was larger than any building humans had ever made. They hung in the sky like mountains made of black metal. Their surfaces were smooth and covered with strange symbols that glowed with purple light. No one had ever seen anything like them. Admiral Park Tae-ho stood in the command center of Earth's defense headquarters. He was 62 years old, with gray hair and a face that had seen many battles. But he had never seen anything like this. The screens around him showed images from every continent. The same scene everywhere. Giant ships. Silent. Waiting. "How many?" he asked. His voice was calm. 3,000, sir," said Lieutenant Baek Min-ho, a young man with sharp eyes and quick fingers on the computer. "Maybe more. Our sensors cannot count them all. 3,000 ships." Earth had 400. Park Tae-ho closed his eyes for a moment. Then he opened them again. Any communication. Before Min-ho could answer, every screen in the room changed. Every television on Earth, every phone, every computer showed the same image. A face appeared. It was not human. The creature had gray skin that looked like stone. Its eyes were large and completely black, like pools of oil. It had no nose, just two small holes. When it spoke, its mouth opened to show rows of small, sharp teeth. "I am High Commander Raxus of the Vorn Dominion," the creature said. Its voice was deep and cold. "Your planet has been selected for absorption into our empire. You will surrender all governments, all military forces, and all resources to us. You have one of your Earth cycles to comply. If you refuse, we will erase your species from existence. This is not a negotiation. This is your only warning." The screen went black. For a moment, no one in the command center moved. Then chaos erupted. Generals shouted. Officers ran to their stations. Phones rang without stopping, but Admiral Park Tae-ho remained still. He looked at the blank screen for a long time. Then, slowly, he began to smile. Captain Kim Yuna arrived at the command center 1 hour later. She was 35 years old, tall and strong, with short black hair and eyes that burned with fire. She commanded the battleship Unyielding, the pride of Earth's fleet. "Admiral," she said, saluting. "What are your orders?" Park Tae-ho looked at her. "What do you think we should do, Captain?" Yuna did not hesitate. "Fight. We have 400 ships. They have 3,000. Then we make each of our ships worth 10 of theirs." The Admiral nodded slowly. "I was hoping you would say that." The World Council met that night. Leaders from every nation argued and shouted. Some wanted to surrender. "We cannot win," they said. "We must think of our people, our children." Others wanted to fight. "If we surrender, we lose everything anyway. At least let us die with honor." Admiral Park Tae-ho listened to them all. When they finished, he stood up. "I have fought in 3 wars, he said. "I have seen what happens when people surrender to tyrants. They do not find peace. They find slavery. They find death, but slower and more painful. These aliens do not want our friendship. They want our planet, our resources, our lives." He paused and looked around the room. "I say we give them nothing. I say we fight. And if we must die, then let us die showing the universe what humans are made of." The room was silent. Then, one by one, the leaders began to nod. The vote was taken. Earth would fight. High Commander Raxus sat on his throne aboard the flagship Dominion's Will. He was pleased. Every species they had conquered had surrendered within hours of seeing their fleet. The humans would be no different. They were weak, primitive creatures who had barely learned to leave their own planet. They would kneel like all the others. Overseer Krell, his intelligence officer, approached the throne. "High Commander, we are receiving a transmission from the planet. Already?" Raxus smiled, showing his teeth. "They surrender faster than I expected." "Put it on screen." The screen lit up. But it was not a surrender. It was not a plea for mercy. It was not even words. It was laughter. Dozens of human faces appeared on the screen. Men, women, young, old. They were all laughing. Not nervous laughter. Not scared laughter. Real, deep, genuine laughter. As if someone had told them the funniest joke in the universe. The laughter continued for 30 seconds. Then the screen changed to show a single face. Admiral Park Tae-ho. He was not laughing. But there was a small smile on his lips. "Hi, Commander Raxus," he said. "We received your message. We discussed it carefully. And this is our answer." He held up a piece of paper with 2 words written in large letters. "Come try." Then the screen went black. For the first time in his life, High Commander Raxus did not know what to say. He stared at the empty screen. His hands gripped the arms of his throne so hard that the metal bent. What was that?" he whispered. Overseer Krell looked worried. "I do not understand, High Commander. No species has ever responded this way. They should be afraid. They should be begging. They laughed at us," Raxus said. His voice was rising. "They laughed at the Vorn Dominion." Warlord Thane, the military general, stepped forward. He was even larger than Raxus, with scars covering his face. "Let me destroy them, High Commander. I will turn their cities to dust. I will make them regret their foolishness." Raxus stood up. His black eyes burned with rage. "No," he said. "I will not simply destroy them. That would be too quick, too merciful. I want them to suffer. I want them to watch as we burn everything they love. I want to hear them scream for the mercy they refuse to ask for." He turned to his officers. "All ships, advance. No prisoners, no mercy. Erase them from existence." The order spread through the fleet. 3,000 ships began to move toward Earth. In the command center, Admiral Park Tae-ho watched them come. Captain Kim Yuna stood beside him. "They are coming," she said. "Yes. Are you afraid, Admiral?" Park Tae-ho thought about the question. Then he shook his head. "No, Captain. I am not afraid. I am ready." He turned to face his officers. "All ships, prepare for battle. Today, we show the universe what it means to be human." The first battle for Earth was about to begin. The Vorn fleet moved like a wave of death across the darkness of space. 3,000 ships in perfect formation, their engines glowing red against the black void. They had destroyed 100 worlds before Earth. They expected this one to fall just as easily. Earth's fleet waited near the moon. 400 ships arranged in a defensive line. They looked small compared to the enemy, like ants facing elephants. But ants can bite, and these ants had teeth. Admiral Park Tae-ho stood on the bridge of the command ship Soul's Pride. His eyes moved across the tactical display, watching the red dots of enemy ships grow closer. Beside him, Lieutenant Baek Minho studied the enemy formation with intense focus. "Sir, I see something," Minho said suddenly. "Their formation. It is too perfect." "Explain." "They move like a machine, Admiral. Every ship exactly the same distance apart. Every turn at exactly the same angle. They have done this so many times that they do not think anymore. They just follow their pattern." Park Tae-ho leaned closer. "And patterns can be predicted." "Yes, sir." "And broken." The Admiral smiled. "Show me." Minho pulled up a diagram. "Here, here, and here. These points in their formation are weak. If we hit them fast enough, their perfect pattern will collapse. They will crash into each other trying to respond. Can we reach those points? One ship could. If the captain was brave enough. Or crazy enough." Park Tae-ho picked up his communication device. "Captain Kim Yuna. Are you listening?" On the bridge of the Unyielding, Yuna smiled. "I heard everything, Admiral. I was hoping you would ask. The mission is almost certainly suicide, Captain. Then it is a good day to show these aliens what humans can do." The battle began at 0600 hours Earth time. The Vorn fired first. Thousands of purple energy beams cut through space. Earth ships exploded. 30 gone in the first minute. Then 40. Then 50. The defensive line began to crumble, but Earth was fighting back. Human weapons were different. Not elegant energy beams, but missiles. Hundreds of missiles filled with nuclear fire. They were primitive compared to Vorn technology, but they were effective. The first Vorn ship exploded in a ball of white light. Then another. Then another. High Commander Raxus watched from his throne, annoyed but not worried. They fight harder than expected, he admitted. But it does not matter. We lose one ship. They lose 10. Mathematics will win this battle. He was right. The numbers were against humanity. For every Vorn ship destroyed, Earth lost a dozen. The defensive line was falling apart. Then Captain Kim Yuna made her move. The unyielding broke formation. It accelerated toward the enemy fleet at maximum speed, alone. One ship against thousands. Warlord Thane laughed when he saw it. Look at this fool. One ship attacks our entire fleet. Destroy it. 100 Vorn ships turned their weapons on the unyielding. Purple beams filled the space around it. But Yuna was not flying straight. She was dancing. The ship twisted and turned in ways that should have been impossible. The Vorn gunners, trained to hit targets that moved in predictable patterns, could not track her. What is she doing? Thane demanded. No ship can move like that. Lieutenant Minho had given Yuna the weak points. Now she hit them. The unyielding flew through the first gap in the formation and fired everything it had. A Vorn capital ship exploded. The ships around it, programmed to maintain formation, tried to close the gap. They collided with each other. Chaos spread through the Vorn fleet like fire. Ships that had never needed to think were suddenly forced to react. They did not know how. Yuna hit the second weak point. 2 more capital ships died. Then the third. The perfect formation was breaking apart. Kill that ship, Raxus screamed, but Yuna was already gone, flying back toward Earth's lines. Behind her, the Vorn fleet was in disorder. Ships were crashing into each other. Commanders were shouting contradictory orders. Admiral Park Tae-ho saw his chance. All ships, attack now. Hit them while they are confused. Earth's remaining fleet surged forward. What had been a desperate defense became a fierce attack. Human ships dove into the chaos of the Vorn formation, firing at point-blank range. For one glorious hour, the battle was almost equal, but the Vorn were not fools. They were surprised, not defeated. Slowly, their commanders restored order. Their superior numbers began to tell again, and then came something no human had ever tried before. Sergeant Choi Hana led the Black Phoenix unit. 50 soldiers in armored suits, trained for the most dangerous missions. Their dropship flew through the battle, dodging fire from both sides, until it reached a damaged Vorn cruiser. Attached to the hull, Hana ordered. We are going inside. Her soldiers cut through the alien metal and entered the ship. What they found shocked them. The Vorn had never experienced boarding actions. They did not have internal defenses. Their soldiers were trained for ship-to-ship combat, not close fighting in corridors. Hana's 50 soldiers tore through the cruiser like wolves through sheep. The Vorn were larger and stronger, but humans were faster, more adaptable, and more brutal in close combat. In 30 minutes, the cruiser was captured. Admiral, Hana reported, the ship is ours. And sir, these aliens have never fought like this. They do not know what to do when we get close. This information spread through Earth's command. A weakness. The mighty Vorn had a weakness, but it was not enough. Not today. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, Earth's defensive line was broken. 200 ships destroyed. Thousands of soldiers dead. The Vorn had lost only 90 ships. Captain Kim Yuna's unyielding limped back to port, half its hull torn away. Yuna herself had a wound across her face that would leave a permanent scar. But she was alive. And she was not finished. The Vorn fleet advanced toward Earth. Their weapons began to rain fire on the planet below. Cities burned. Millions fled underground or to the evacuation ships heading for Mars and the asteroid colonies. Admiral Park Tae-ho ordered the retreat. Fall back to secondary positions. Protect the evacuation. This battle is lost. But the war is not over. On the Dominion's will, High Commander Raxus smiled at the burning planet below. You see, he told Overseer Krell, they fought harder than most, I admit. But in the end, they fall like all the others. Krill nodded, but he was troubled. He had studied the battle carefully. The humans had lost, yes, but they had fought in ways no species ever had. They had adapted in real time. They had taken risks that seemed insane but worked. "High Commander," he said carefully. "Perhaps we should not underestimate them further. They are unusual." Raxus waved his hand dismissively. "They are beaten. Soon they will beg for mercy." Begin the occupation. Far below, in an underground bunker, Dr. Shin Daewon worked without sleep. Around him, machines hummed and screens glowed with data. He was building something that would change everything. "How long do you need?" Admiral Park Tae-ho asked through the communication screen. 6 months, Daewon replied. "Maybe more. We may not have 6 months." The scientist looked at the Admiral with tired but determined eyes. "Then give me what time you can, Admiral. And I will give you a weapon that will make these aliens regret they ever came to Earth." Park Tae-ho nodded slowly. "We will hold them. Somehow, we will hold them." The first battle was over. Humanity had lost. But as the Vorn would soon learn, losing a battle was not the same as giving up. Humans did not know how to give up. It simply was not in their nature. The real war was just beginning. Earth was burning, but it was not dead. The Vorn had expected the conquest to be finished within days. They had done this many times before. Destroy the military, occupy the cities, break the spirit of the population. Simple, efficient. Every species they had conquered followed the same pattern. First they fought. Then they lost. Then they surrendered. But humans did not follow the pattern. 3 months after the first battle, Overseer Krell stood before High Commander Raxus with another report. His hands were shaking slightly. "High Commander, we have lost another patrol in the European sector. 15 soldiers. No survivors." Raxus slammed his fist on his throne. 15 more? That is the 3rd patrol this week. How? We control the skies. We control the cities. How are they killing our soldiers? They attack from nowhere, High Commander. From underground tunnels, from ruined buildings, from forests and mountains. They strike fast and disappear before we can respond. Our soldiers are trained for open warfare. This is something else. This is cowardice. Warlord Thane growled. They hide like insects because they cannot face us in true battle. Krell shook his head slowly. No, Warlord. This is strategy. They know they cannot match our strength, so they do not try. Instead, they make us bleed slowly. 1 patrol at a time, 1 supply convoy at a time, 1 checkpoint at a time. The reports continued. A Vorn communication tower destroyed by explosives in the night. A food storage facility burned to the ground. Soldiers found dead with strange wounds. Vehicles sabotaged. Equipment stolen. And the humans themselves? The Vorn could not find them. They would capture 1 resistance fighter, and 10 more would appear. They would destroy 1 hidden base, and 3 new ones would emerge. It was like fighting smoke. Sergeant Choi Hana had become a legend after the retreat from the first battle. She had taken her Black Phoenix soldiers underground. Literally. They moved through old subway tunnels, abandoned mines, and natural caves. They recruited civilians who wanted to fight. They trained them in the ways of shadow warfare. One night, Hana led a raid on a Vorn command post. They moved in complete darkness, using only hand signals. The Vorn had excellent technology, but they relied on it too much. When Hana's team disabled their sensors, the aliens were blind. 20 Vorn soldiers died that night. Hana lost only 2 fighters. More importantly, they captured data. Information about Vorn patrol routes, supply lines, and communication codes. This information went to Admiral Park Tae-ho on Mars, helping him plan the counteroffensive. On Mars, the remnants of Earth's fleet were rebuilding. Captain Kim Yuna pushed herself harder than anyone. The scar on her face was a constant reminder of the first battle, and of her brother. Lieutenant Kim Jun-seo had commanded a destroyer in the first battle. His ship had been destroyed, covering the retreat. There was no body to bury, just a name on a long list of the dead. Yuna did not cry. She did not speak of him. But everyone saw the change in her eyes. The fire that had always burned there was now cold, focused, deadly. "I want every ship ready in 4 months," she told her crew. "I want every weapon upgraded, every weakness fixed. When we go back, we will not retreat again." Her crew believed her. They worked 20-hour days. They slept in shifts. They rebuilt the Unyielding from the skeleton of a wreck into the most dangerous ship in the fleet. Dr. Shin Dae-won worked in a secret laboratory deep inside an asteroid. Only Admiral Park Tae-ho knew its location. The project he was building could change everything, but it needed time that humans were buying with their blood. "Tell me about Project Phoenix," the Admiral said during one of his visits. Dae-won pulled up a diagram on his screen. "The Vorn have a weakness. All of them are connected through a neural network. It is how they communicate instantly across their fleet, how they coordinate their perfect formations. But this connection goes both ways." "What do you mean?" "I mean that if we can send the right signal through their network, we can disrupt it, overload it, make their own communication system work against them." Dae-won smiled tiredly. "Imagine every Vorn soldier suddenly losing connection to their commanders. Every ship unable to coordinate with others. Their greatest strength becomes their greatest weakness." Park Tae-ho nodded slowly. "How close are you?" 3 more months. Maybe 2 if nothing goes wrong. Then we will give you 2 months." Back on Earth, Overseer Krell was becoming increasingly disturbed. He had been studying humans obsessively, trying to understand them. What he found frightened him. He watched recordings of human resistance fighters, men and women who knew they would die but attacked anyway, civilians who hid refugees in their homes, knowing the punishment was death, children who carried messages through dangerous territories because they were too small for Vorn sensors to detect. One recording showed a captured human fighter. He was wounded, beaten, clearly dying. A Vorn interrogator demanded information about the resistance. The human laughed. With his last breath, he laughed and said words that Krell would never forget. "You think you have won? You have won nothing. Kill me. Kill all of us. Our children will grow up hating you. Their children will grow up hating you. You will never have peace. Never. We will fight you for 1,000 years if we must." Then he died, still laughing. Krell presented his findings to Raxus. "High Commander, I must speak honestly. I have studied 200 species that we have conquered. None of them were like this. These humans, they do not surrender. They cannot surrender. It is not in their biology. Every species can be broken," Raxus said. "Perhaps. But at what cost? We have been here for 3 months. We have lost more soldiers than in our last 10 conquests combined. Our supply lines are constantly attacked. Our soldiers are afraid to patrol alone. And we have not pacified a single region completely." Warlord Thane stepped forward angrily. "You suggest we give up? The mighty Vorn, defeated by these primitive creatures? I suggest we reconsider our strategy," Krell said carefully. "Or, at least understand what we are truly facing." Raxus waved his hand dismissively. "Double the patrols. Triple the punishments for resistance. They will break eventually. They must, but they did not break." In the mountains of what was once Korea, a small group of refugees hid in a cave. Among them was an old woman named Grandmother Song. She was 90 years old and had lived through many hard times. Now she helped care for the children while their parents fought. One night, a young boy asked her, "Grandmother, will we win?" She looked at him with ancient, wise eyes. "I do not know if we will win tomorrow, child, or next year. But I know this. We have survived invasions before. We have survived wars and disasters and tyrants. We are still here. We always survive. And one day, these aliens will learn what many others have learned before them." "What is that, Grandmother?" She smiled. "That humans are very, very hard to kill. And even harder to defeat." 6 months after the invasion began, Admiral Park Tae-ho received a message from Dr. Shin Dae-won. 2 words that changed everything. "It is ready." The Admiral looked at the message for a long moment. Then he called Captain Kim Yuna. "Captain, it is time to go home." Yuna's eyes blazed with cold fire. Finally, in the darkness of the Kuiper Belt, Far from Vorn sensors, 600 human warships began to power up their engines. They had been rebuilt, upgraded, and filled with crews who had spent 6 months training for this moment. The counterattack was about to begin. The Kuiper Belt was cold, dark, and empty. Perfect for hiding. For 6 months, humanity had worked in secret. Ships that the Vorn thought destroyed had been recovered and rebuilt. New ships had been constructed in hidden factories on asteroids and moons. Technology captured from the enemy had been studied, understood, and improved. Admiral Park Tae-ho stood on the observation deck of his new flagship, Soul's Vengeance. Around him, in the darkness of deep space, 600 warships waited in complete silence. No communications, no engine signatures, nothing that could alert Vorn sensors. Captain Kim Yuna walked up beside him. Her face was calm, but her eyes held that cold fire that never went out. The fleet is ready, Admiral. And you, Captain? Are you ready? She touched the scar on her face. I have been ready for 6 months. Park Tae-ho nodded. He understood. They all did. Everyone in this fleet had lost someone. Everyone carried grief and anger like fuel in their hearts. Today, they would use that fuel. Send the word. All commanders to the briefing room. The holographic display showed Earth hanging in space, surrounded by red dots representing Vorn ships. 2,000 of them still remained, though many were spread across the solar system controlling human colonies and mining operations. The Vorn believe we are broken, Park Tae-ho said to his commanders. They believe the resistance on Earth is the last gasp of a dying species. They have become comfortable, lazy. This is their mistake. He pointed to the display. Our fleet will exit hyperspace here, on the far side of the moon. This will give us a few minutes before they detect us. In those minutes, we must achieve surprise. Lieutenant Baek Min-ho stepped forward. Sir, I have analyzed their current formation. It is the same pattern they always use. Same spacing, same positioning. They have not changed anything since the first battle, because they do not think they need to, Yuna said. Exactly. Min-ho smiled grimly. Which means the same weaknesses exist. And now we know exactly where they are. The plan was complex but clear. The fleet would divide into 3 groups. Yuna would lead the vanguard, hitting the weak points in the Vorn formation just as she had in the first battle. A second group would attack the orbital platforms that protected the Vorn command ships, and the third group would provide cover for a very special mission. Dr. Shin, the Admiral said, please explain. Daewon stood up, looking tired but excited. Project Phoenix is ready. I have built a device that will broadcast a signal through the Vorn neural network. When activated, it will overload their communication system. Every Vorn within range will lose their connection to each other. They will be confused, disoriented, and unable to coordinate. How long will the effect last? Yuna asked. At least 30 minutes, perhaps longer. 30 minutes is enough. The Admiral looked around the room. The device must be delivered close to the enemy flagship. That is where their main communication hub is located. A small team will board the flagship and plant the device. I will lead that team, said a familiar voice. Sergeant Choi Hana had arrived from Earth just 3 days ago, smuggled off the planet in a captured Vorn transport. She looked thinner than before, harder, with new scars that told stories of 6 months of guerrilla warfare. Sergeant, Park Tae-ho said, you have done enough. You do not have to take this mission. Hana smiled. But it was not a friendly smile. Admiral, I have spent 6 months hiding in tunnels, watching my friends die, and dreaming of this moment. I am going to walk onto that alien flagship and look High Commander Raxus in his ugly black eyes. No one is taking that from me. The Admiral studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded. Very well. Black Phoenix will deliver Project Phoenix. May the gods protect you. The gods can watch, Admiral. We will handle this ourselves. The night before the attack, Yuna sat alone in her quarters. On the table before her was a photograph. It showed 2 young people in military uniforms, smiling at the camera, her and her brother, Jun Seo. The day they both received their first commands. I am going home tomorrow, she said to the photograph. I am going to finish what we started. and I am going to make them pay for every single person they killed. For you. For everyone." She touched the image gently. Then, she stood up, straightened her uniform, and walked to the bridge. Admiral Park Tae-ho did not sleep that night. He stood at the window of his quarters, looking at the distant stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, his home, the planet he had sworn to protect. He thought about all the people counting on him, the refugees on Mars, the resistance fighters on Earth, the families hiding in caves and tunnels, the children who had never known a world without war. "We get one chance," he said to himself. One chance to take back everything. His communication device beeped. It was time. He walked to the bridge. Every officer was at their station. Every face was serious but determined. They had trained for this moment. They had sacrificed for it. Now they would see if it was enough. "All ships," he said into the fleet-wide channel. "This is Admiral Park Tae-ho. 6 months ago, an enemy came to our home. They demanded our surrender. They expected us to kneel like all the others. Instead, we laughed at them." He paused, looking at the stars. "They thought that was foolishness. They thought we did not understand our situation. But we understood perfectly. We knew we could not match their numbers. We knew we could not match their technology. But we also knew something they did not." His voice grew stronger. "We knew that humans do not give up. We knew that while one of us still breathes, the fight continues. We knew that we would rather die standing than live on our knees, and we knew that one day, we would have our chance." He raised his fist. "Today is that day. Today, we take back our home. Today, we show the galaxy what happens when you threaten humanity. Today, we make them regret every life they took, every city they burned, every tear they caused. Are you with me?" The response came from 600 ships, 600 crews. Thousands of voices united in one word. "Yes," Park Tae-ho smiled. "Then let us begin. All ships, jump to hyperspace. Destination, Earth." The stars stretched into lines of light. The fleet vanished into hyperspace. On the Vorn flagship Dominion's Will, Overseer Krell was reviewing reports when an alarm sounded. He looked at his screen and felt his blood run cold. "Hi, Commander," he shouted, running to the throne room. "Hi, Commander, wake up. They are coming." Raxus opened his eyes, annoyed. "Who is coming? What are you talking about?" "The humans, High Commander. 600 ships just exited hyperspace behind the moon. They have a fleet." For a moment, Raxus did not understand. "That is impossible. We destroyed their fleet. They rebuilt it, High Commander, and they are heading straight for us." Warlord Thane burst into the room, already in his battle armor. "Let them come. We still have 2,000 ships. We will crush them again." But Krell was looking at the tactical display with growing horror. They are not attacking in formation. They are spreading out, hitting multiple points simultaneously. This is not the same strategy as before. They have learned. Raxus finally stood up, his black eyes narrowing. "Sound all alarms, all ships to battle positions. We will teach these humans their final lesson." The final battle for Earth had begun, on the bridge of the Unyielding. Captain Kim Yuna watched the Vorn fleet scramble to respond. She thought of her brother. She thought of the cities burning below. She thought of 6 months of waiting, planning, and preparing, all weapons ready. Her tactical officer reported. Yuna smiled. It was not a nice smile. "Fire everything." Space erupted into chaos. The human fleet hit the Vorn formation like a hammer striking glass. Captain Kim Yuna led the vanguard straight into the weak points that Lieutenant Baek Minho had identified. The first 3 Vorn capital ships exploded before they could even raise their shields. But this time, the humans did not stop. They kept pushing, diving deeper into the enemy formation, firing at everything that moved. The Vorn tried to reform their perfect lines, but the humans would not let them. Every time they tried to organize, another attack came from a different direction. "This is different," Warlord Thane growled on the bridge of his command ship. "They are not fighting like before. They are fighting like us. No. Worse. They are fighting like mad creatures. He was right. The human captains had trained for 6 months in a new style of combat. Close range, aggressive, unpredictable. They did not wait for orders from Admiral Park Tae-ho. They made decisions in real time, adapting to every change in the battle. On the unyielding, Captain Kim Yuna was a demon of war. Her ship moved through the Vorn fleet like a predator among prey. 1 ship destroyed, then 2, then 5. Her crew worked in perfect harmony, responding to her commands before she even finished speaking them. "Target that cruiser," she ordered. Then the one behind it. Do not give them time to think. Missiles flew, lasers burned, the Vorn cruiser exploded, and the unyielding was already moving toward its next victim. But the Vorn were not helpless. They had numbers, and they used them. Human ships began to fall. The destroyer, Braveheart, was overwhelmed by enemy fire. The cruiser Morningstar was torn apart by 3 Vorn battleships working together. Admiral Park Tae-ho watched the battle from his flagship, directing the flow of combat. For every ship he lost, he made sure 2 Vorn ships died. It was brutal mathematics, but it was working. "Admiral," Minho reported. "Sergeant Hana's team is approaching the enemy flagship." "Good. Tell her the path is clear. She needs to move now." The dropship carrying Black Phoenix flew through the chaos of battle, dodging fire from both sides. Inside, Sergeant Choi Hana and 50 of her best soldiers checked their weapons one final time. "Remember the plan," Hana said. "We get inside, we plant the device, and we find Raxus." Any questions? No one had questions. They had been waiting for this moment for 6 months. The dropship attached to the hull of the Dominion's will. The soldiers cut through the alien metal and entered the flagship. Just like the first boarding action months ago, the Vorn were not prepared for close combat inside their own ship, but this time was different. The Vorn had learned from the first encounter. They had stationed more guards, installed more internal defenses, and trained their soldiers for corridor fighting. The battle inside the flagship was brutal. Hana lost soldiers with every room they cleared, but they kept pushing forward, fighting through the massive ship toward the central command hub. Dr. Shindae-wan watched from a safe distance aboard a stealth ship. In his hands was the control device for Project Phoenix. He waited for Hana's signal. "We are in position," Hana finally reported, breathing hard. "Planting the device now." "Understood. Activating in 30 seconds. On the bridge of the Dominion's will, Overseer Krell suddenly felt something wrong. A pressure in his head. A static in his thoughts. "High Commander," he said. "Something is happening to the network. I feel." He never finished. The world turned white. Project Phoenix activated. A pulse of energy ripped through the Vorn neural network. Every soldier, every commander, every pilot connected to the network felt it. Their thoughts became confused. Their coordination vanished. The perfect machine of the Vorn military became chaos. Outside, the effect was immediate and devastating. Vorn ships stopped moving in formation. Some crashed into each other. Others fired at friendly vessels by mistake. Pilots who had never needed to think for themselves suddenly found themselves alone and terrified. Admiral Park Tae-ho saw the chaos spreading through the enemy fleet. "All ships, attack now. Push them while they are blind." The human fleet surged forward. What had been a difficult battle became a massacre. Vorn ships fell by the dozens. Their commanders, cut off from each other, could not coordinate any defense. On the Dominion's will, High Commander Raxus stumbled off his throne. The connection to his fleet was gone. The voices of his commanders, which had always been in his mind, were silent. For the first time in his life, he was truly alone. "What is happening?" he demanded. "Why cannot I hear them?" "The network is down, High Commander," Krell gasped, holding his head. "Something has destroyed it. Fix it, now!" But before Krell could respond, the doors to the bridge exploded inward. Through the smoke walked Sergeant Choi Hana, her armor covered in blood, her rifle raised. "High Commander Raxus," she said, her voice cold as space. "We need to talk." Raxus stared at her. This small human female had fought through his entire ship to reach him. He did not understand. "You. How? We have defeated you." Your species is broken. Hana laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. Broken? We were never broken. We were waiting. We were planning. We were getting ready for this moment. She walked toward him, stepping over the bodies of his guards. You came to our home. You burned our cities. You killed our families. And you thought that would make us surrender? She stopped in front of him, looking up at his towering form without fear. You do not understand humans at all. Pain does not break us. It makes us stronger. Loss does not defeat us. It makes us angry. And you have made us very, very angry. Outside, the battle was ending. The human fleet had destroyed or captured over half the Vorn ships. The rest were trying to flee, but Captain Kim Yuna's vanguard was hunting them down. Warlord Thane tried to rally the remaining ships for a final counterattack. His command ship charged toward the unyielding, all weapons firing. Yuna watched him come. She thought of her brother. She thought of the first battle, when they had retreated in defeat. No more retreating, she whispered. The unyielding turned toward the enemy command ship and accelerated. The two vessels charged at each other like ancient warriors. Weapons fired at point-blank range. Metal tore. Systems failed. At the last moment, Yuna targeted the reactor core of Thane's ship. One final shot. Thane's ship exploded in a ball of white fire. The unyielding flew through the explosion. Damaged but alive. For Junso, Yuna said quietly. On the Dominion's will, Raxus fell to his knees before Sergeant Hana. His black eyes, which had once shown only arrogance, now showed fear. What are you? He asked. What kind of creatures are you? Hana looked down at him. For a moment, she remembered everything. The months of hiding, the friends she had lost, the children she had protected in caves and tunnels, the old grandmother who had told her that humans always survive. We are human, she said. We do not surrender. We do not break. And we never, ever forget. She raised her communication device. Admiral Park, the flagship is secure. Raxus is captured. The Admiral's voice came back, filled with quiet satisfaction. Well done, Sergeant. The battle is over. We have won. Hana looked out the viewport at Earth, hanging blue and beautiful in space. Fires still burned on its surface. Cities were still in ruins. It would take years to rebuild, but they would rebuild. Humans always did. 1 hour later, Admiral Park Tae-ho broadcast a message to the entire galaxy. Every species with the technology to receive it heard his words. This is Admiral Park Tae-ho of Earth's United Fleet. 6 months ago, the Vorn Dominion came to our world. They demanded our surrender. They expected us to kneel. Instead, we laughed. His voice grew stronger. Today, we returned. Today, we fought. And today, we won. The Vorn fleet is destroyed. Their high commander is our prisoner. Our planet is free. He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice was like iron. Let this be a message to any species who thinks humans are weak. To any empire that believes we are easy prey. We are not. We survived. We fought back. And we will do it again if we must. He straightened in his chair, looking directly at the camera. Earth is our home. Humanity is our family. Threaten either one, and you will learn what the Vorn learned today. We do not give up. We do not surrender. And those who try to destroy us will find that we are very, very hard to kill. The message ended. Across the galaxy, in throne rooms and command centers and humble homes, different species watched. Some felt fear, some felt respect, and some, the ones who had been conquered and oppressed, felt something else. Hope, on Earth. The survivors emerged from their hiding places. They looked up at the sky where the Vorn ships had once blocked the sun. The sky was clear now, blue and bright and free. In the mountains of Korea, Grandmother Song held the hand of the young boy who had asked if they would win. Tears rolled down her old face. We won, child, she said. We won. Captain Kim Yuna stood on the bridge of the battered Unyielding, looking down at Earth. The scar on her face pulled tight as she allowed herself, for the first time in 6 months, to smile. Sergeant Choi Hana sat in a shuttle heading home, exhausted but at peace. She had walked onto an alien flagship and looked their leader in the eyes. She had spoken for all of humanity. And humanity had been heard. Admiral Park Tae-ho remained on his flagship, watching the cleanup operations. There would be much work ahead, rebuilding, healing, preparing for whatever came next. But for now, in this moment, he allowed himself to feel pride. Pride in his species. Pride in what they had accomplished against impossible odds. They had demanded surrender. Humans had laughed. They had returned for the ultimate clash, and they had won.